as Halloween, for me at least, is drawing to a close. One more H.P. Lovecraft-inspired tale to set the mood and escort All Hallows' Eve off into the abyss. The story begins with a whisper, a faint rumor I dismissed as the superstitions of ignorant fishermen, until I could no longer ignore its terrible truth. An old sailor in Dunwich spoke of a luminous, shifting form beneath the ocean, something that moved with a rhythm not of this world, something that seemed to breathe and pulse with an eldritch life. I thought it was mere folklore until I saw it myself, and everything changed. Driven by an obsession I could neither understand nor resist, I took my vessel into the abyssal depths. Hours passed in the suffocating blackness, and then I saw it, a colossal writhing mass, half buried in the silty seabed, yet somehow alive. It was not like any creature I had ever beheld. Flesh and shadow fused into an unrecognizable form, covered in unearthly symbols that seemed to writhe and shift. Tentacles, thick as tree trunks, spilled outward and seemed to shimmer with their own malevolent intelligence. As I reached out and laid my hand upon its slick surface, a cold, ancient whisper erupted in my mind, an insidious language older than the stars. I felt the presence of something vast and unknowable, an intelligence that had slumbered beneath the waves for eons, waiting for the right moment to awaken and drown the world in chaos. The moment I touched it, I was invaded by visions, cities of impossible architecture beneath the ocean, filled with monstrous beings whose eyes burned with a primordial hunger. I saw the unnameable depths of the cosmos, where alien horrors drift in eternal darkness, and I understood that this thing was a fragment of that abyss. When I returned to the surface, my mind was shattered. I was no longer myself. My thoughts were fragmented, filled with visions of cyclopean ruins and monstrous tentacled deities whose names I dare not speak. My reflection was a nightmare, my face twisted, eyes black and sunken, skin pallid and slick as if I had been soaked in some eldritch ichor. My journal, once filled with rational notes, was now filled with symbols and words that made no sense, an incantation of madness. I could not resist the call to return. I went back to that cursed place, seeking answers that only the void could give. But each time, my companions vanished into the shadows, their screams swallowed by the abyss. The creature grew larger, more grotesque, a shifting mass of flesh, eyes, and tentacles that seemed to pulse with its own dark heartbeat. It was no longer an object but a living, breathing nightmare, an unholy fusion of organic terror and cosmic darkness. Inside my mind, the creature spoke, or rather, I felt it, not in words but in feelings, an overwhelming flood of despair, chaos, and hunger that threatened to drown my very soul. It whispered secrets of the cosmos, truths so terrible that they shattered any hope of human comprehension. It told me that humanity was a fleeting illusion, a fragile speck in an endless sea of madness, that Cthulhu's awakening was inevitable, and I was merely a vessel, a pawn for its return. One night, I woke up covered in tendrils that reached beneath my skin, writhing like living worms. My reflection revealed a face transformed into a mass of pulsating flesh, eyes bleeding into each other, staring in all directions. I heard the distant, echoing laughter of the deep, a sound that resonated with the very fabric of my soul. I realized I was becoming the very thing I had touched, a conduit for the unspeakable horror that lurks beyond the stars. The tendrils beneath my flesh pulse and reach outward, seeking more hosts, more vessels for the cosmic chaos. I can feel the presence of others, long dead, long lost to the darkness, fused into the collective nightmare. My mind is no longer my own. I welcome the darkness because I know it is the only thing that remains real. My humanity, my sanity, everything is slipping away, piece by piece, and I am glad. Soon, I believe I will become the creature itself, a sprawling, unnameable nightmare that will drown the universe in its madness. The world will be consumed by shadow, by chaos, by the terrible awakening of the ancient gods, whose names I dare not speak. I am already losing myself. My thoughts are now corrupted, my will dissolved. I write this as my final act of defiance, knowing that soon I will be nothing but a fragment of the void. This is not a story anymore. It is a confession, a scream into the void, as I slip into the eternal darkness. The object, the creature, the cosmic nightmare, whatever it truly is, will soon be free. And once it awakens, nothing will remain. The fragile illusion of human existence will shatter, and the true horror will begin, the awakening of the great old ones, and the return of madness beyond understanding, and I will be its first host.